Welcome to my video. I hope you're all having a lovely day. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Hunger Games. Now, obviously, you can tell I am a giant fan of the Hunger Games. I have the books, special edition. I have Funko Pops, magazines, posters from the films, plus all the movies, and I'm dressed as Katniss Everdeen. So, without further ado, let's get started. The Hunger Games is a trilogy book series written by Suzanne Collins. It was originally published in 2008, and in 2012 it became a 4-movie series. This story is about a dystopian world. The main two characters of the story is Katniss Everdeen and Peeta Mellark. What is the Hunger Games? Well, the Hunger Games is an event that is nationwide and televised to everybody. Everyone must participate and watch in these games. The people who have to fight to the death are the tributes. There are 24 tributes, 1 male and 1 female from each of the 12 districts. The tributes in these games range from the ages of 12 to 18. They are forced into these games and must fight to the death until one is left standing. Of course, this all changes when Katniss and Peeta enter the 74th Annual Hunger Games. They attempt suicide by eating poisoned berries that they found. These actions create an act of defiance and eventually sparks a revolution even though they never intended it. There are 2 groups of people in the book series and the movies. There is the capital and the district. They have very different views on how they see the games and their relationship with food. These beliefs that they hold are ideologies. So, ideologies are ideas that people believe in that affect and construct society that we live in. Now let's look at the capital. What does the capital believe? Well, they believe in the idea that everything is for entertainment, and all of their actions revolve around that. One can see this in how the capital views the games. They see it as a sporting event with celebrities, instead of the actual very brutal real event that it is. They see it as a fun thing, and they place bets, they cheer for the favorites, cry when they die, and this is their form of reality TV. They are seeing ideas of people, but not who the people actually are. An example of the capital seeing the games as entertainment and very normalized in their society is when in the movie The Hunger Games, the adults give a young boy a toy sword as a gift. The boy then proceeds to chase around a little girl as the adults cheer him on. They see this as a norm and as something that isn't their reality. They see it as entertainment instead of what it actually is. But if you step back from how the capital sees the games as entertainment, one can actually see that it's children brutally murdering children because they're being forced to by the government. There is a disconnect of what they're really seeing and how it affects them. The capital citizens have a different reality than the victors, tributes, and the districts who are forced into participating into the games. They are real people and not celebrities like how the capital sees them. The capital also has an interesting view on how they see food. Food is a very important part within the whole series because in the districts it's very hard to come by. But when you look at the capital, they have tons of food. It's everywhere. In their trains, at their parties, everywhere. They don't see food as a need, but rather as a want. This is an example from Catching Fire, which can be seen in the movie and in the book. One can see this when Katniss and Peeta are at a Capitol party and they're talking to Capitol citizens. The Capitol citizens hand them a drink and tell them to drink it. They say that by drinking it, it will make you throw up, and then you can continue on eating. They're not eating because they're hungry. They're eating because it's fun, and they want to do it at parties. The capital citizens do not understand the struggle the districts go through in order to have food. And of course, this irritates Katniss and Peeta because they are starving. They have starved. Their families are starving. The capital citizens are just there eating food and throwing it up because it's fun. Not because they need the food, but because why not? They have plenty. Now that we understand the capital's ideology, let's look at the districts. In the districts, the games are seen as a truly horrible and terrible thing, and they all fear the games. And they dread the reaping, which happens every year. The reaping, for those who do not know, is an event where the tributes are chosen randomly by a name being drawn out of a bowl. In the movie, if you look at the faces of the children at the reaping, you can see dread and fear everywhere. An example of the district citizens seeing the games as a truly terrible thing which they fear is the introduction to Prim. Prim wakes up screaming from a nightmare, and Katniss has to comfort her. Prim screams because of a nightmare of her being chosen to be in the games. Katniss understands that it's terrifying, but she tries to comfort her sister Prim in the best way possible. She tells Prim that her name's only in the reaping once, and that nothing bad will happen to her. Of course, this all changes when they actually get to the reaping. Prim's name is picked from the hundreds of children, and she is stunned and terrified, and you can see that on her face, and you can see that in Katniss's face as well. One can also see the fear and dread based off of Peeta's reaction when his name is drawn. After the ceremony, one can see that Katniss and Peeta are in a vehicle with Effie Trinket. Peeta instantly starts crying because he knows this is a terrible thing that's happened to him and that he knows he's not coming back. The games hurt the citizens of the districts every year. They take away family members and then are forced into watching them fight to the death and be murdered on screen, which truly makes everybody fear the games because they don't want to see that happen to anyone they love. It is not a fun event, it is not glorified, and they definitely are not seen as celebrities. When talking about the district, it is important to look at their food resources. The districts do not have much food, especially the lower districts like 12 and 11. They are impoverished. In order to get more food, they have to put their name into the reaping more times. And the more times one's name is in the reaping, the higher chance they have of being picked. Another way to get food is to illegally hunt in the woods. Otherwise, they would starve and their families would starve as well, because there is no other way to get food in these districts. Food is very important to the citizens in the districts. They rarely have food, and it's a need, not a want. An example of how important food is to these citizens is when Peeta accidentally burns bread in the Hunger Games book and movie. When Peeta accidentally burns the bread, he gets into major trouble. His mom yells at him. This is because they can't afford to burn or throw away food because there is such a limited amount that they have. One can argue that they fear the games more than starving to death. An example of this is when Katniss is talking to Prim when they're allowed to say goodbye before going off to the games. Is when Katniss tells Prim not to put her name in the reaping to get more food. This scene is in the Hunger Games movie, and it just shows that is more terrifying to them than starving to death. So, what does this all mean? Well, it means that both of these groups have very different ideas based on how they sit socially. The capital has a different view of the games and their relationship with food because they are in a higher class of society where they don't have to think about hunting for food or the actual things that go on in the games because they have an extreme amount of distance from their reality to the district's reality. When looking at the districts, they're in a lower place in society, so they have to work extra hard to find their food. They also see the games more as an object of fear and terror than entertainment, because they are the ones that are being forced to fight. It is important to look at both of these groups' ideologies and understand why and how this affects them. And it's important to see how society is reacting to those beliefs, because in this case, for the Hunger Games, it led to a revolution. It may not always lead to a revolution, but it can lead to change. So I hope you all enjoyed watching this video and learning more about the Hunger Games from a critical point of view. If you liked the video, go ahead and like the button, subscribe, hit the bell, all those lovely things. All my sources are linked in the description down below. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye!